Hi, David. It's great to be here today. We're going to hear a little bit about Enclave and yourself and the journey that you've been on, I think, so far, but also your vision for the future. Do you want to start just with a really brief introduction to yourself, your background, and I guess your kind of personal mission and ambition?
Sure. Okay, no problem. So my background is in venture capital. So I ran a fund investing in early stage technology companies. Then I moved into professional services really and set up and ran a couple of companies, helping advising high growth firms in particular and especially those in the tech space. So I have sold and invested in quite a few businesses as well and came across Enclave Networks at the very beginning, really, and have been working with Mark as a founder, co-founder, to grow Enclave and to uh, really push our philosophy of zero trust network access out into the marketplace. And we're determined to grow a globally significant business that addresses challenges for companies that need and organizations that need to run private networks over the public internet.
Okay, great. Thank you. So yeah, good background in kind of business. You understand, of course, the challenges and the opportunities of starting a business and then kind of scaling at pace. What from your perspective, what is the kind of problem that you kind of built Enclave to solve? What is that kind of burning platform that you think we need an enclave in this world?
So I went on to Showdown this morning. So Showdown is essentially a engine for internet enabled devices. And on Showdown this morning was 3.5 million VPN devices visible on the public internet waiting for people to connect to them. So that's anybody, anyone, anywhere can connect to those devices and have a go. And that's a problem. And it's basically a problem because the architecture that sits behind a lot of private infrastructure is that it's connect first and then authenticate. And essentially, what Enclave does is flip that paradigm on its head. So it's a zero trust approach. You can only connect to something when you have met certain trust standards. So, what that basically does is two things. Number one, it delivers completely invisible private infrastructure. So no one on the public internet is able to see your infrastructure and therefore connect to it. But the second thing that it does, which is really interesting, is it creates a new overlay network. So you don't have to mess around with the core infrastructure of your network in order to create secure private connectivity. So typically at the moment, when we think about secure private networks, a network engineer somewhere has to think about VPNs, firewalls, access control lists, routers, switches, private keys, secret keys, NAT. The list goes on and on and on, and it just creates inertia in organizations. So Enclave does two things. Number one, it makes all of your private networks properly private. They're invisible to the public internet. Number two, it allows you to create that connectivity with the minimum amount of effort and the maximum amount of security.
Okay, great. That sounds good. And I think, there's definitely a kind of a wave that's been building, hasn't there? I mean, knowledge is power and data is certainly the currency of the future. And more of us are reliant on sort of big data and the ability to connect with others, whether that's within your own organization or teams outside, your own business infrastructure. So the ability to connect securely in that way is really vital. What do you see as being the kind of vision for Enclave and the way that we improve connectivity for individuals, teams, and indeed organizations moving forwards?
So, obviously the world is a much more sophisticated place than it was when, core network infrastructure was designed, 20 or 30 years ago. So now we have remote workers, we have cloud services, we have on-premises services, we have hybrid services, we have containers, we have virtual machines, We have all of these different devices, and fundamentally, organizations need to be able to rope those devices together in a secure but private way and give the right people the right access to the right data at the right time. And that has to be done, we believe, with a zero trust approach. So rather than building ever bigger castle walls around your network perimeter, you take a zero trust approach whereby you have a much more sophisticated and micro-segmented view of the world, but critically, you don't allow anyone to connect to anything until they've authenticated properly first. And I think this is the sort of cutting edge of networking going forward, because we have much more complicated network infrastructure and we need a much more sophisticated view to securing and managing that infrastructure.
Absolutely. And I guess that's where that concept of enclave kind of came from, the ability to spin up a secure sort of network that allowed you to build your own enclave, and then pull that down, of course, when you finished kind of working. And can you, give us some kind of use cases of how this is being used at present, maybe?
So we've found that there's a really rich seam of early adopters that sit within organizations but are charged with change and innovation and continuous improvement. So when you think about it, if you're trying to change something or innovate or continuously improve something, very often the rigidity of your network infrastructure just gets in the way. And so Enclave appeals to those early adopters because we enable that innovation. We say, look, we can help you secure that innovation in a robust and resilient way. And you don't have to go around and but sort of mess about in the weeds of your network infrastructure to make that happen. You can just say, we have a business imperative. We need to connect those developers in Germany with the pre-prod systems in New York, and it just happens. We don't have to think about the changes that we need to make to our network infrastructure to allow what is actually fundamentally a pretty simple business imperative.
Absolutely. And I think I love that concept of securing innovation. Human progress is vital to survival, just looking at what's going on around us right now. I think, the ability to really empower whether that's a skunk works within an organization or an entrepreneur that's looking to really kind of innovate and transform a business kind of landscape is so important. And I know some of the driver that came to you in terms of your kind of vision for Enclave was it doesn't need to be this complex. So can you talk us through a little bit more around that kind of experience that you'd sort of had previously, and I guess kind of your, as I said, the ambition that you had for really kind of empowering the innovators?
So yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we often say to our customers is that we're not here to build you a better network. We're here to get the network out of your way so you could get on with adding value to your organization, delivering business imperatives, and actually, particularly with our early adopters, embracing innovation, embracing change, moving forward, making stuff happen, basically. And up until now, so often the network has just got in the way. We can't do that because there's this whole range of things that we have to put in place first before we can make that happen. So yeah, we're kind of on this mission to do two things really, is to bake in security with a zero trust approach to how people manage their networks from a centralized policy and tags perspective. But secondly, basically to enable organizations to get on with the day job rather than having to think about the plumbing of their infrastructure, which, as I say, very often just gets in the way.
Absolutely. And I guess, risk and trust aren't just buzzwords, they're business imperatives, aren't they? And you talk about baking in that kind of resilience piece. What are we doing as an organization and as a broader kind of ecosystem to really ensure that that what we're developing is secure? What is it that we're doing to really deliver zero trust?
Well, I think the philosophy but behind zero trust is, well, what it says on the tin. You don't trust anything. It doesn't matter whether it's inside your perimeter, your network, or outside it. You don't trust it. You always have to verify. You always have to authenticate. But there's also a sort of series of other concepts that sit behind zero trust, which is not, a silver bullet by any means. It is a range of solutions which need to be implemented. Is this idea that actually you only give access to resources to the right people at the right time for the right purpose. So there's this underlying concept of micro segmentation. Um, and instead of thinking about having this hard network perimeter, but once you're inside you can go where you want, you have a much more nuanced and flexible and agile network that can meet your business imperatives while still being flexible and agile and dynamic and innovative. And that's really where we're trying to get to, this kind of promised land of a network that actually supports and develops the business instead of just getting in the way and being a constant security headache.
Right. And I know we're really keen to kind of engage and develop out that kind of ecosystem, aren't we? And continue having conversations with sort of like-minded people that are really trying to change the landscape for good. So what would be the call to action? Who is it that we want to engage with now as a business in this kind of early stage, to go with us on the journey and make this a reality?
So yeah, I mean, it's a series of steps, isn't it? But I think for us, we are really interested in talking and engaging with people that kind of agree with us. Networks are too complicated. They get in the way, and they have inherent security challenges, which need to be addressed. So if people agree with us that networks are too complicated, that they get in the way, and that they have security which we need to do something about, then come talk to us. I mean, we're really open to different use cases. So we've talked a little bit about innovation and how we can facilitate and secure innovation, but there are plenty of other use cases for people who are looking for a solution to this problem. How can we get more dynamic, more secure, more private networks that actually support and develop our business instead of just getting in the way?
Thank you so much for your time today, David. I think, I, for one, are really proud to be with you on the journey. I can see there's a fantastic opportunity and the hard work that I know is going on behind the scenes to ensure that we are delivering sort of secure innovation for network developers to really kind of continue to progress and for the wider kind of ecosystem play that we've kind of talked about. So I'm looking forward to hearing how the story unfolds, and yeah, I'm sure we'll be back on air very soon. Thank you.
Likewise, Natasha. Thank you.